All right, reporting live. I am here with Kyle Spicka of Edmonton Impact. Hopefully, you've had an amazing offseason so far. I see you making headbands and learning how to play the snake with mouse. Hopefully, there's not too many mouse traps going down in that house. And we're gonna kind of get right into this. How you doing?
Good, man. How are you been?
Full experience, and just trying to kind of get to the bottom of what's going on with the Impact camp. You a lot of rumors. We've seen a lot of stuff. I want to start from the beginning, though, so people that don't know you can kind of get a full understanding of who Kyle Spicka is, aka Kyle Gosling. Where, how did you get mixed up in the paintball scene? And then explain to me, for those that don't know, the move that you made out to San Diego when I first met you.
So, I don't know. I guess that's a long. I can add a lot. I could talk about that for
Short
30
version.
minutes.
Short version.
The short story, grew up on the East Coast, North Carolina, and I started playing ball out there. And there was when the trauma gridlock camp was big out there, so I got into the tournament scene through that. After about 2 years, it kind of fizzled out. That was like four different teams where no one had home. So I moved to Florida for a year, played with the Palm Beach Vipers there, and then I came out at 19 to play with Aftermath semi-pro, and that kind of like set the stage for me out in California. And my first team was on the Ironman with Oliver before he had left.
So I met you when you first moved to San Diego. You used to come around to the house, and me and a bunch of the boys that were there, and they had their house.
We
And
played Vegas together.
yeah, and then that's what I was gonna say. We picked you up, and we added. I believe it was the event we smacked Dynasty in the prelims. I'm not sure, but we picked you up for an event, and then you played like a crazy winning season. Then you started to kind of evolve into a pro paintball player after Aftermath. Of course, Mike Hinman builds another great player, has another great legacy. I would say he had a great impact on your career. I saw you basically come out of your timid, very small, like kind of like cold enchilada, and you blossomed into this full main course lobster. You know what I mean? And that happened when you went to the Ironman. Explain to me the relationship you had with Oliver and the Ironman and Die at that time.
So I didn't really know Oliver that well. I know like Scott Kemp and Brandon Short and Rainey was on the team. Uh, I didn't really know Oliver at the time that well, and he wanted to go back to Dynasty. I think when I had got on the team, like he was done with the Ironman, so he was there just for a year, and I think he was like, "Who are you, little kid? Like get out of my way," first. So I didn't really get like the full Oliver experience till I came to Dynasty in 2013, um, where then he was like took me under his wing and taught me so much about not just paintball, but I would even say more so about life, which I'm really grateful for.
And how was the Aftermath camp going into the Ironman camp? What did you
Okay.
talk so highly if I came in? Tell me about that.
So I would say like the biggest thing I learned was just like, and I always talk about in paintball like it's solving equation. It's a kind of a numbers game. There's also a lot to it as far as strategy, but I think Hinman does a really good job of helping you understand like probabilities and just like concrete fundamentals that you can always fall back to in a situation where it's like, I don't know what to do. A bunch of stuff happened here, but like I know that the core fundamentals are probably like the best thing to resort to in this situation. So you see a lot of his players like they're really fundamentally sound and consistent, and they're following kind of like the basic rules to win paintball games, and he really grinds that in, through maybe some
Now are the
aggressive tactics.
fighting every weekend? Is he beating people up? What are the rumors like? Because I personally have played against him for years, and I've seen him. But what was it like actually being coached by him?
I think he's just a master. He's really, really intelligent. So he's a master of like the psychological warfare. So he knows how he can get in your head if he wants to, and make you feel pretty bad, even if you're like, that's not true. It's like, but he somehow you're like sitting there. he can tell you like, why'd you wear those blue shoes today? And you got white shoes on. And you're like, wait, are these blue? Like he really is like getting on me about this. So uh, he can break you down mentally, but I think that's good for a lot of people to come into this game, especially the young players with this huge ego that they're, you know, should jump from D2 to pro. And he kind of breaks you down and makes you check yourself and leave your ego aside. And I think that's why, he's bred so many good players because of the way that he does. And it's not for everyone.
Amazing. Yeah. I mean, I've seen him obviously coach you from a young buck to then listening to him watch you play on these pro teams and win championships around the world. What was that experience going into the compared to that?
So I don't know if a lot of people know this, but I actually, when I moved out here, I had nowhere to live, and him and let me live at his house for a month. So I lived with him, and we became really good friends off the field. We still are today. I'm going to all his tournaments, WC, PPLs, and coaching a ton of teams out there. We talk all the time, and I love that guy. And so we kind of like, man, I think so. The semi-pro aftermath camp got basically cut out, and it was just pro. And I remember I went over to like a Super Bowl party at Glenn Takamoto's house, and it was after like a pretty rough practice, and I was like, man, I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna play paintball anymore. I think I'm just gonna live in San Diego. And they're like, come try out for the Ironman. And it's a funny story. I went and tried out, and it was like me, Kenny Rosenberg, um, Ryan Cohen. Do you remember Ryan Cohen from X Factor? And then this guy, Adam Geist. So four of us
Yeah.
were trying out,
I
and
played
I
it with
actually didn't make it. So they were like, "No, Kyle didn't make it. He's not on the team." And then Dave Youngblood was like, "No, I don't want." Dave and Billy were like, We don't want Kenny Rosenberg." So I got like his slot, and I didn't play like for the whole first year I was on the team, 2010. Kind of had to earn my spot, and then that's like when there was like that mass exodus of players, of like Miko, um, Billy stopped playing, Oliver left, and it was just like Paxton was like the main veteran on the team, and then like Short and Scott them had to become leaders, and then I had to quickly push into like being a vet on the team. So it forced me to like, I don't know, kind of mature my paintball mind quickly.
Got it. And who was coaching you at the time when you were on Iron?
Skinny Kevin,
And how was that playing
who's now
underneath
the
him because he
dynasty.
now coaches Dynasty to wins?
Yeah, I loved coaching his coaching style. He's always funny. He's always got like a smart ass comment to say, um, and he's kind of like, he's matter of fact about things. He's not. He's just like, hey, like you guys want to win. Here's the plan. Whatever. He doesn't really like to kind of dive into too much. Like he's not a person that's gonna sit there and like motivate you. He's not gonna be like an Oliver or Todd, like that
Got it.
comes from a lot of like a passionate place. He's very data data heavy, I guess would be a good word for his coaching style, which is good. I mean, I think we don't have enough
Yeah.
in paintball.
And then how was that then transitioning into Dynasty, which you did after Ironman?
So I and then it's funny because Short then goes over to Dynasty like a week before me, and I'm like, I don't know, like we're doing pretty well. I was like the team manager now of Ironman. Had like company card, and I was like, man, this is nice. Like I wanna leave this. And Short's like, that's gonna be the biggest mistake of your life if you don't come with me to Dynasty. And so I was like, and I was living with Short at the time. So I was like, all right, let's do it. Went over there, won the first event. And that was not only my first pro event I'd ever won, that was my first national event that I'd ever won. And I'd gotten like 6 or 7 second places before that. And
You
so
come a
I
long
was,
way from wearing the
it was
green colored
pretty magical experience.
And then what most
Yeah,
people don't
yeah.
know is you went to Europe and you
And then
smashed everybody in Europe when you were on Art Chaos. And I think that was probably the strongest team pro paintball's ever seen. And I know the Dynasty guys will kill me for saying that, but I just believe, in my opinion, that was the strongest paintball team I've ever seen play. I don't think you guys lost a single point. I was playing on, I think the Milano and Marcelo on Hulk all year in Europe, by the way, which most people don't know. So how was the Art Chaos team, and how was that experience? Because Europe was amazing. We had a lot of great times together in Barcelona and in Madrid, and me and you kind of saw the world together. So what was that experience like playing there as well as and winning?
Dude, that was I'm so thankful to get that experience and play with those guys, because that now they're all even split up between Russian Legion and Houston Heat. So I don't know if those guys will ever get to play again like that. So that was a cool experience to play with, like, arguably like the four best Russians that ever play, and then myself. They're just like, well, just go try to get to the snake. If you get shot, it's fine. We're gonna win the game anyways. So it was a cool experience because we were really fucking dominant. And that, I mean, we won the series in 2013, I believe, and then also um, as Dynasty and Art Chaos, and then also I was going to Australia and we won the series there, and I won like 3 events over there. So that was, I think I won 7 events that year, pro events. So that was.
And then I went with you. I went with you to Australia and smashed Greg Sewers and Marcelo in Australia, which most people don't know. I don't think most people understand that me and you saw the world together and played against each other, but traveled to all the events together. That's the thing about paintball, is that friendship and camaraderie. I don't think most pro sports have that, right?
We need the WWF video in Barcelona, the DDP off the bed.
Yeah, we did a lot of crazy stuff. Then I saw you make the move to Impact. Why did you go to Impact? Why did you leave Dynasty as such a successful route that you had there? And you had such a, I don't want to say career because it's not even close. You were obviously becoming the most dominant player. You made a huge World Cup win. You put them kind of back on the map, regardless of what anybody says. And then you said, you know what? I'll just go get a check and leave all my boys and go to Impact. I'm over this. Dave Baines hits you with a few free pizzas and a couple free memberships to Capitol Paintball Park. Shout out to Giant Party Sports in Dallas, Texas. And you go to Impact. And I'm there. I'm hearing the stories. And I'm like, he didn't make that move. And then you did it. Why?
So, and then we're skipping a part too. I went back to Ironman first. 2018. So 2018.
Yeah, that doesn't really count. You guys were getting smashed, and like I don't think anybody really counts that.
Okay, so
you got like 23 Ironman. I don't even know why you would leave to go back to Ironman. You left the Dynasty to go back to Ironman. That made no sense to me at that point.
Here, I'll give the big reason why.
20 DMs.
Huh?
20 DMs a year.
Yeah.
That's the reason. That's the reason.
More. No, but the reason outside of why, like, obviously, money was the main part of that. But I started going back to school, and I couldn't do school, work a job, and paintball. It was too much on me. And like go to the gym and exercise and stay in shape and stay focused and not just kill myself mentally. So that was a big reason. Like I always wanted to go back to school, not just for the like fucking piece of paper, but just for like worldly knowledge, to be, have this conversation with you and speak fluidly. Like I just wanted to go back to learn and do that for myself, and that, that I could show myself that I did it. And so that helped me afford to do that. That was like the main reason. And honestly, when I left Ironman to go to Impact, like, Impact, everyone knows we get paid on Impact. It's, a salary. We don't have to sell guns, anything, which selling guns is a job in itself. But like, I was getting like a sizable amount with Ironman, and it wasn't like that much of a difference with Impact. But like, who doesn't want to play with, arguably like the best players in the world? Could be, the captain of any other pro team, and then just be able. There's a difference when you're playing with those high level players. It's like something doesn't need to get explained for 15 minutes. It's like just say it once and it clicks with these people because they know, and that's what I wanted. And it's funny you like said talking about Mouse at the time too. Like Mouse was a big reason I wanted to go, because we're always like have brought the best out of each other playing against each other, and so it was cool because like I wanted to just. I've always been, all 3 of us have been really friends, all hung out a ton, and just it's like nonstop laughs, and you like we always talk about it, you get like, I don't know, a sense of joy, and then you don't see each other for 2 months. Like, why do I not feel like as happy? And you're like, oh, it's because I haven't seen my boys, like my teammates, my brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm. I
and
mean, bro,
it's
we
like
had
same
some
with you.
amazing
Like,
times in Europe. Yeah.
yeah. Well, it's like you and I, we just talked about before we got on. Like, I don't know, maybe it was damn almost close to a year since I saw you, but we went and had dinner, and it's just like you pick back up, like nothing's changed. So,
That's the
um,
one joy of paintball that we don't do a good enough job talking about is the camaraderie and brotherhood. We truly become a family. We spend days and weeks together, and we miss birthdays and dinners and events, and we travel around the world, and then we party, and then we meet girls, and then we go back to this place. And it's like, some people have memories of going to like a high school party. We have memories of like this girl that works at a French bakery in Chantilly, Paris, and like we're in France, like trying to talk to her a year later, and it's like we know these hotels, and it's just different, and it's so hard to pinpoint what makes it different. But paintball's always at the nucleus of that, of bringing these amazing friends together. Bro, we used to beef, and then I used to kind of like butt heads with everybody and you, and then I was like, yo, dude, let's just go party. We're in San Diego, and now we're spending Halloween together, and then we became best of friends.
yeah, yeah,
Oh, paintball.
exactly.
So which camp molded you the best to become the player you are? Most impact on you in doing that?
Well, I'd have to say Dynasty, hands down. Spent so much time there, and like I still live with Ryan. Those are always. That's really tough to say. I would say probably um, Brandon Short was probably taught me the most, but also like his was like tough love. It was like sink or swim type of learned, like big brotherly uh,
Mm-hmm.
teaching. Um, but I always like tried to model my game after his. I remember watching when he was just dominating like between '05 through '07 area, um, and then, but also was like Frazier, like he taught me so much. So it's hard because I thought in like Short's prime, and this is no offense to Alex, like Short was way better than Alex in my opinion, just super
Mm-hmm.
way more dominant. But Alex is like highly intelligent, high level paintball IQ. You saw it in that tournament where he won MVP. Like he still knows everything there is to know about the game, and he thinks about all the variables. So he expanded my mind in a sense. Like think I don't know. He taught me how to like really dissect things and think like strategy and obviously Ryan, Oliver, Yosh, all those guys, big part of it. And then Oliver just was probably the most influential o- outside of the field because like in paintball, I think as pros, like you're not making a lot of money here. Like you're not doing it to be rich, so you're making a lot of sacrifices that I think weighs down a lot on your mind. Is like, man, am I really picking the right path here? I'm giving up a lot of maybe aspirations I have for my future to keep continuing to do this. And that, like, I don't know, Oliver has a way with his words, as most people know, to like mentally help guide you. And so, like, I don't know. I think off the field, I would give it to Oliver in that sense.
Amazing. And in terms of, I would say you probably have one of the best landscapes of the pro, division. You understand it the best. You have a full vision of it. I think optically you've seen both sides of it on the player side, on the team side, on the brand side, and that's kind of gotten you to the place where you're at. You've matured as a player. You've matured as a person. Who is the best player you've ever played against going through this process?
Uh, my position, mouse, hands down. Um, I want to say like one of the toughest competitors. I would maybe give to Malloy,
Why is that?
Russian. He's just he's so unpredictable, and he's also somehow a lot of times knows what you're gonna do, even if it's unorthodox. Like he covers. He just he. It's almost like he can kind of sense. It's like in boxing match when they're like
Mm-hmm.
feeling filling each other out at that beginning. Like instead of it taking a minute for him, that guy's like he's like reads you for 10 seconds and he already knows like how you're gonna play that point or whatever. So and I would say, I think that was, and I'm still going off of like some past years. I wouldn't say like Malloy right now has been that like
Yep.
a kryptonite for
Yeah.
me anymore right now, but I'm just speaking from like just the past. He's been really insane. J Rab was always really hard to play against too.
Why is that?
He's like I would go tournaments and I wasn't getting shot off the break at all, and then J Rab just shoots me every point, and I'm like, how is he doing this? It's like an impossible shot, and his timing's so good, and it's like even when you think you're up bodies, he would be able to like just pull stuff back, and it's frustrating because like it's easy when it's a 4-on-2 like to suffocate the other two players so that they're most of the time they're gonna lose, but like whenever he's on the field, it's like it's always gonna be a grind in a battle. Like he's like two people in one out there. So I have always had a lot of respect for his game as well.
Now, we've seen you play against a lot of the top pro teams and a lot of the top pro players. Over the years, there's got to be that one team that you always hated to play against, whether they cheated or there's always arguments or there's always chaos or their coach would come in and try to fight you. Who was that team and why?
Uh, and I don't know. That's a tough one. I guess like before it was Impact, it was probably Impact. Before I was on Impact.
Mhm. And what would happen when you play against them
but
that you?
well, they're just real gritty. Like they're even if you're winning, they're gonna come back, and it's gonna be tough. And if they did get up points on you, it was really difficult to go back. Just fundamentally sound. I mean, you got 5 superstars almost every point on the other side of the field, um, and that just it's difficult. But at the same time, I now realize being on Impact as well. Um, People play you, give you their best game. They're coming out there. It's
Of
not.
course.
They already. A lot of teams already feel like they've lost the match, so they are going out there with nothing to lose, and they're trying and they're being creative, and they're um, basically like using deception, any type of creativity they can use and strategy and techniques and tactics to kind of defeat you. And it's almost like I would say like kind of like a trial run for these other teams because and it advances them and it evolves them because they're like, well, we can't play these guys straight up paintball 5-on-5, so maybe we're gonna try something completely different here, set up a trap, whatever it is, and you see it work sometimes. Like we got the break speed off us by level, 2 tournaments ago, um, and it was just like, you know, I don't know, good on them for being so creative and having a sound game plan to beat us, a team that they shouldn't beat.
100%. Now, a lot of people would probably say that, you know, Impact's not overrated, but with the team you guys have, with as much money as you guys are getting paid, you guys should be stomping teams out. There's no reason a bunch of old guys from San Diego's that have to use crutches to get to practice should be beating you guys still. You know, Ironman and whatnot, and these teams are kind of to the wayside now. And, you know, I wouldn't say Russians are at the height of their game. I wouldn't say X Factor was that crazy, even though they were winning every event, you know, top 3, I would say. Why is it that Impact can't pull it together and seem to dominate these teams and dominate these events and get wins? I think that's where Impact needs to be at first place, not second, not a third, not a fourth. What do you think that it is that Impact can't put together?
So right now, and I hate to like try to give it any excuses, but I think one, we're in our heads a little bit to where it's like we do know how good we are. We think that have that same mindset that we should be top 2 every tournament. But so when you get checked and you're like you get like a maybe a eighth, 10th place, it throws like a, I wouldn't say like a doubt, but maybe a onset of like confusion to where you're like, what? Okay, and then you start second guessing things that didn't need to be second guessed, and it's like just go back to the basics and do this, and then you don't need to be a superstar, but you'll have your moments to go out and be a superstar. Just be that, that strong team like you are. Like we see these other young teams have great tournaments just because they go out there and they just play their game and they do their jobs and be soldiers. But what it takes, they obviously they're not winning events, because to win event you also have to pull out heroics, and you need to win points that you shouldn't win, and that's where the veteranship I think comes into play. But if you're not like getting to that opportunity, then in trying to do heroics early, then you're not even going to get to that opportunity where it's like you bring that out. So I
Do you
think it's
think
just
that
like
you think that this
going back a
roster,
little
the
bit to
impact
that.
has?
And
No, continue.
say that again.
No, continue. I heard audio. I thought you were.
So oh, okay. Uh, the other thing too is like Bart was gone like for the 4 events. He just came back. So I think I don't know if that caused anything, because I was only with Bart for 1 event, and then we had that COVID year World Cup. He wasn't there, and then he wasn't here for the first 3 events, so he's just came back, and that was also uh, Zach, his son, as well. So, and those are like 2 pretty core pieces of impact. So maybe everyone, I don't think would say that that's like a big factor, but maybe it was a big factor as far as like from an organizational standpoint, and checks and balances, and
Yep.
being there to help Dave, um, with coaching and watching teams, and doing all the other little shit like like getting waters and making sure that the team is where they need to be at a certain time, little stuff like that. That could also have came into play. But I would say the biggest thing was like maybe second guessing what we were doing, like our
Hmm.
strategy.
Hmm.
Uh,
How has it been playing underneath Dave Baines, and what's that leadership kind of been on the team? Some people say that he's not making the right plays. Some people say he's not playing the team the right way. Maybe too much power in certain areas, not enough defense. Maybe instead of a guy like A-Rod, you guys. There's a lot of ways to look at this. It's not like Impact's falling apart or doing anything wrong, but do you feel that you guys aren't playing the field the right way? Do you guys feel you aren't making the right play calls when time comes?
I mean, there's some of that comes into play, and I think there's Dave would say like, man, I fucked up on a call, or I made the wrong decision here. Like there might be some of that, and that goes back to like I don't know if that's where Bart helps Dave really flourish and
Hmm.
alleviate some of his delegation of jobs outside of the actual matches. Uh, but I it's kind of tough to say, to put it all on like to put it on as like a coaching standpoint. It comes to us, and we're a fucking hard team to deal with, because we have 10 highly intelligent people that all are highly opinionated, and it's like throwing stuff at Dave all the time. And when Bart's there, he's kind of like, when Bart's not there, everyone just feels free to like be outlandish with whatever their thoughts are, how obscure it is, and how to play the field and whatnot. And then Dave's at his core, he's a really nice guy, and he'll sit there and he'll listen to everyone. And I think like sometimes we might overload him, and then he's trying to pin down a bunch of different things, but then he's like, well, half the team wants, the majority of the team wants to play this other way of the field, but I don't really want to play the field that way. How do I like convince these guys that I'm seeing the way the field should be played? So sometimes
Hmm.
maybe there was some events where there might have been like a separation, instead of just buying in to what our coach, your leader, the person that you are supposed to listen to at the end of the day, like is saying. And I think that's where Bart helps, because it's like I've always said, if you have like if you have the best game plan versus like an okay game plan, if the team is split on the good game plan, then that's going to be worse than just all buying in and going out with something that's like a mediocre game plan. Because if you go out there and everyone's on the same page, like it's going to be fluid and efficient versus like kind of like I don't know, having a friction between what you need to do when you go out there on the field.
Mm-hmm. No, percent. Who would you feel is the best player and why right now in the league?
Man, I think you got to give it to Ryan.
And why is that?
You know, it's I would say that there's probably like he's not always gonna be like pull out the best moves, and he's not gonna do stuff that you see like Fedorov or Mouse or even I guess you could throw Archie in there some of the time. J Rab's kind of been like in and out, so he would be usually a person that I would say takes that crown, but he hasn't been there enough to like, you know, give off of there. So I'd say Ryan just because of what he's done as far as like stepping up to be a leader of Dynasty right now, and how much he does off the field. Like the guys, like you know, as you know, because you are the like you guys are like super robots in social media and just being on it. Like that shit's super draining. And to be able to like Ryan can do it like off in 2 seconds and post something on the way to the field that takes other people like so much mental space and like brain power to do. So to be able to like balance everything he does and then go out and you know win golden barrels and be MVPs of games like that shit. I think people don't understand like how difficult that is. Like every when I'm home, like Ryan's like nonstop working on something. Like he might chill at the end of the night to like watch a show or something like that, but he's on the go, and that takes a lot of energy and a lot of. He's an older guy, like still be doing it. Like the guys we're talking about, you know, J Rab, Fedorov, like they're getting up there, but Ryan's got a few years on them. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
and he's still doing it. He still go play any position on the field. So and you know, 2 World Cups in a row with a team on that on paper is um, not as strong as like Heat, X Factor, or us. Uh, you got to give it to him, I think.
So, Kyle, we're getting towards the end of the full experience. So what is in store for you for 2022?
Oh, before we get to that question, I do want to say I think that they're doing like best snake player of the year, and I think that hands down goes to Mal because he dominated the first event, and we got second at the first event, and I still think he was a better snake player than Chad in that event. And then you got what Alex, the next one, and then people are saying Billy for the fourth one, even though they got second. It's like so Mouse has two on that, so, and I don't know. I mean, maybe you know Mouse didn't have the best last two events. You know, it takes a whole team to help support you know everything, but I don't know. Mouse, in my opinion, was the best snake player this year. So that kind of ties in with that Ryan thing. Um,
Amazing. So, what's in store for you?
and so for me is just for this year. Well, we're going full force with Tigerware. Obviously, that's Mouse and I, along with our good friend and buddy Lamb, and that's like the main thing right now. And then obviously, you know, working on our own just development of the team and getting back to putting that team back on top. So those are my two main focuses right now. I'm still in school. I only got 4 more classes, so then I'm
Damn.
done with that.
Paintball, pros, the school, the full experience. It's good to catch up. Insight behind you, the year, the team. Anything else you want to touch upon with your brand and everything else?
No, I mean just hope that everyone out there is just enjoying what we're building, and hope they can continue to support us. And I think we're seeing a really cool like changing of tides in paintball with all these different brands kind of raising the bar of
Mm-hmm.
quality and you know now you're seeing the players finally go like, no, we want to make stuff that we like, and you're kind of starting to see it now. And it's good because it's forcing the bigger brands to step up.
Amazing.
Survive.
Amazing, Kyle. And it's good to see you. It's good to hear you. It's amazing to see you at the top of the game and still trying to take paintball to the next level with your brand.
Yes, sir. Good
Thanks,
talking
Kyle.
to you, bud. Of course. Later, bro.